Costs are a key part of any business decision. In this video, we'll define three essential cost concepts. Total costs, the overall expenses of production. Fixed costs, expenses that don't change with output, like rent. And variable costs. These are expenses that fluctuate with the amount of quantity produced, these are like material costs. Together, these costs help us analyze production and profitability.
In this module, we want to understand what's going on behind the supply curve a little bit more. This has everything to do with costs and the cost structure of firms in terms of how much it costs them to produce a given amount of output and how those costs change as you increase or decrease output. And so what we want to get out of this chapter is we want to be able to distinguish between fixed and variable costs. We want to characterize how changes in these costs affect total, marginal, and average cost functions. We want to make decisions using understanding of product and cost concepts. And so throughout this module, I'll define everything and solve some practice problems with you. Okay. Now, to begin with, costs and outputs. To produce more outputs, a firm needs to hire more inputs. Inputs here will be labor, capital, meaning machines or factories, and raw materials. When they hire more of these inputs, they can increase output or quantity. Right? And so our costs will go up as you increase output or quantity because you have to pay your workers. As you hire more workers, you have to pay for those extra factories and machines. You have to pay for those extra raw materials. And so how the total costs change as you increase output, that's everything what this chapter is about. All right, so this chapter is going to describe how costs vary when a firm wants to change its output and quantity decision of production, moving output levels up and down. So the definition of a fixed cost, this is going to be constant for any level of output. You should think like a factory. The cost of building the factory or renting the factory is exactly the same, whether the firm produces 1 unit of output or 1 million units of output. This isn't going to go up or down with the level of output. It stays fixed. Variable costs are the opposite. These are going to go up and down as the output changes. As your output goes up, your variable costs will go up. As your output goes down, your variable costs will go down. And so you can think of this as going to be your workers or your labor, your employees. As you hire more workers, what you pay them, your total payroll bill is going to go up, 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 up. If you lay off some workers or reduce the number of workers, your variable cost, your payroll is going to go down, down, down. Okay. Sometimes it's easier to think through these on a graph and how they're going to work. All right, so this fixed cost is an expense for something you must have in order to produce any amount of output, but this expense does not change if that level of output changes. So here we have output on the x-axis and dollars in terms of our costs on the y-axis. And so as we increase our output in this direction, you can see this fixed cost line is flat, right? It's always $100 here. It doesn't go up or down with the number of output. You could produce 1 unit of output or 35 units of output. We're always going to spend this $100 in our fixed costs. Variable costs are going to go up as our output goes up. Right? So these are going to increase as our output increases because more variable inputs are used to produce more output. If you want to produce more output, you need to hire more workers and you have to pay those workers. And so our example in these videos are going to be an application to a firm that's going to create and sell web pages. Right? And so we're going to have a number of web pages increasing per month along this x-axis. Right? And so as we have to hire more workers and pay them, as we increase the number of web pages we produce every month, our variable costs are going to go up, 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 up as we have to pay those workers. And so here's, I'm just making up these numbers to do this, right? And so if we graph out this table, you would get this increasing variable cost as we hire more workers for there. Our total cost of production is going to combine and add together the fixed cost and the variable cost for each level of output. And so I'm pretty much combining the two tables that we had before, where our number of workers, right, is going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The total product, this is going to be the quantity or the output level. This is the number of web pages per month. We get 100, 220, 350, telling you how many web pages that each of these workers in total is going to produce. And that's going to be our fixed cost, so it's always going to be 5,000. It doesn't change, right? And this will be our cost of our labor, what we have to pay in payroll. And it's going up, 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 up as we hire more workers. And you can see these changes here. It's always going up by 3,000. And so that basically means we're going to pay every additional worker $3,000 a month as we hire them, and that's going up. So our total cost for hiring these number of workers and to produce this quantity is going to be like $8,000, 5 plus 3,000, 5,000 fixed, 3,000 variable. It's going to be 8,000 in total cost to produce 100 web pages. If you want to produce 220 web pages, you still have that 5,000 total cost, or sorry, fixed cost. Variable cost is going to go up by 3,000 because you have to hire another worker. So in total, you'll have $11,000 in total cost to produce 220 web pages. And that's going to go on as we add these numbers up in this table. If we want to graph out our total cost, we can do so. So on this graph, right, we have our fixed cost. It's always at $5,000, no matter how many web pages we produce in a month. And then we add in our variable cost. So that's going to be the vertical distance between total cost and our total fixed. Right? And then now we can graph our total cost. So notice that the slope of the total cost curve is exactly the same as the variable cost curve. It's just shifted up. I should say total cost is variable cost, just shifted up by the amount of this total fixed cost here. So where we're going to go next is we're going to talk about some more important cost concepts in terms of average cost and marginal cost. So we're going to take these total cost curves, variable cost and total fixed, and talk about averages and marginals. And those two cost concepts are what we're going to use to make decisions on how much to produce in later chapters.